Okay, so Victor, I travel a lot, and I understand that this is a device that I probably should have in my suitcase when I travel. Can you share what this particular device is? Right now it's actually set up for plugging into the mains in the UK, but we have a little bag back here that also has plugs that would be more appropriate for my home in Italy and
Europe.
Your home in America. So,
yeah.
And what's the third one here?
It's China.
China.
Yeah, and places like that.
Okay, so, and
Australia, I think.
Great. So we have several options in terms of our. So what is this device?
So we call this the Geo Travel. Now, just to explain how we got to that name, we make a very large tube, which we haven't got here on display at the moment, but it's a tube that's probably 3/4 of a metre long, and we've designed it to combat the geopathic energies that come up from the ground that people find in their homes. There's a lot of geopathic stress in many homes all over the world. And
can you define what you mean by geopathic stress?
Sure. We started off many years ago doing scans, sort of a report on houses, just by checking the energy lines that they got going through the houses. That some people call them ley lines, or we could call them energy lines. Sometimes there's water courses under houses that get affected by different types of frequencies that come up under the ground through the water, makes the rooms of the house really, really horrible and difficult to live in. Energetically. Yeah. People get sick from it. People can, there's cancer clusters and all sorts of things around the world reported for, many, many years. In fact, in some countries, it's mandatory to have an energy specialist come along to look to see that there's no geopathic energy under the house before they grant a license to build a house.
Wow.
Yeah. That's in Sweden.
Oh, interesting.
That I know of, yeah. So it's just like a part of the planning regulations. You have to have a person come along to guarantee that.
So this is not whoop whoop. This is this is measurable in terms of your geometry or someone who's reading the land before you're about to build.
We've been doing this for a very long time, and we're looking at not only geopathic stress from energy lines and the things that I just mentioned, but we're also very aware of the EMFs that come in from outside from radio mass.
Electromagnetic frequencies?
Yeah, there's more or less 4 different types of these. One of them is the electromagnetic influence from just cables that run under the floor.
Electrical cables.
Right. Yeah. And there's another one which is basically dirty electricity. So that's the LED switch mode power supplies create an awful amount of spiky noise on the mains. It can be quite harmful for people.
So these are all things that you can't see with your eyes, but have a definite effect on your biology.
Yeah, absolutely. There are several meters, some made in the UK, some in America, some in Germany, and there's a sort of a thing called building biology. So if any of your viewers want to look up, about dirty electricity, radio frequency from mobile phones or telephone masts, the electromagnetic fields that come from cables, the magnetic fields that come from pumps of refrigerators and things like that. There's building biology is the new thing.
Building biology.
Building biology. I think there's an institute called Building Biology.
So this is something that our viewers could actually Google and look up and get the sense of what these non-visible energies that are impacting us are.
Yes, and they can be incredibly harmful. And our experience of those energies in our own house was my wife was unable to sleep properly. So we started this long investigation, which took us about 2 years. So I have first-hand information and knowledge of this. And her voltage when she was lying on the bed was 14 volts. Any biologist would say 14 volts, it must be less than 0.01.
When you say your wife's voltage,
yeah, no, literally we're measuring an electrical meter.
She was, wow.
Yeah, plugged into the earth.
This is useful. She could hold your nightlight.
Yeah, well, there's no power behind it, but the voltage was particularly high. Yet when I was laid on the same bed in the same place, my voltage would only be 6 volts. But that's incredibly high also. We want to be 0 volts.
But it's interesting that your diverse biologies actually led to this difference in the voltage that was being read in
and
there.
It's repeatable. We were shown it by a building biologist. This is we got somebody to come in and check out the house and said, "Wow, have you done this experiment?" I thought, "Well, no, I haven't." So I connected up an ordinary voltmeter, I plugged it into the earth, connected the other side, put it on AC and AC voltage, and it showed literally 14 volts, which is incredibly high. But what was the problem was that it was a solar panel inverter that was 100 feet away from our bedroom, 100 feet, yet it was infecting the mains circuit with a particular frequency.
Wow.
And my partner was able to pick this frequency up because of her stature, whatever.
Right, she's not a tall individual.
No, it must be, she's a little aerial.
Right.
And it affected her more than it affected me.
Wow.
So we bought a grounding sheet, which is literally a cover that fits on as a sheet, as the main sheet on the bed, and we connect that into an outside rod that goes in the ground, and that took us down to 0.
Wow.
So that was fantastic.
And what was the result for her in terms of her sleep? Was she?
Well, she wouldn't be jumping up in the middle of the night. She would jump up in the middle of the night and shake her hands like this and jump up and down because she was all charged up.
Wow.
So it was quite, it's quite a thing.
Quite dramatic.
So for this device, the little Geo device here, or the big one, doesn't matter. They're both exactly the same in terms of program. This is just a small one for like a hotel room or a single room. Not necessarily a hotel room, but a small house where you've got like a one bedroom studio flat or something. So this device is designed. There's a thing we call quantum transmutation.
Quantum transmutation.
Yeah, so we use our technology, which is the stuff we use everywhere else, but you can actually set up a complementary pattern. So if there's a particular vibration, like the energy coming up from the ground, or it's a 5G aerial, or it's a 3G aerial, or 4G transmission, or radio waves of all sorts of different kinds, it's possible with this to set up a field. And the way we do it, we have a microprocessor type thing inside it, which has many, many different resonance patterns that we've created for all those things that I just mentioned. It plugs into the mains and it uses the wiring of the room that you've plugged it into as its aerial, as its antenna.
Wow.
So as things come into the room, it establishes what that is, and if it's what we would call harmful or unbalanced, it would look in its little database and find a corrective pattern and send it back around the circuit. But when it's not used, that particular bit switches off. So you're never bombarded with stuff that's
unnecessary.
That's unnecessary. It only matches the challenge, and it pretty much matches it pretty much straight away.
Wow.
Seconds, if it finds a new challenge.
Right.
Because the energy lines and things, they change overnight. They can change by the day, by the week, by the moon, because the energy is flowing up and down these energy lines, and it's a dynamic thing. It's not you're going to go and fix this energy line and it stays fixed.
Wow.
In some cases
it's
that is
dynamic.
True, but it's a dynamic thing. So that's why originally we created it was for just geopathic energy, and we created this field of transmutation of those
So
patterns.
had you had this when your wife was going through this, jumping up in the middle of the night with this voltage in her body, would this have actually prevented that?
No, is the answer to that. But because the voltage is a thing that's the voltage is a thing that's in a physical, it's a physical thing. Although you could say a transmission is a physical thing, but the voltage, you can't actually get rid of it unless you actually get rid of it.
Right.
It's a bit like saying there's a microwave, like a router, which is 2.4 gigahertz and more, sitting in the side of your room, in your bedroom. You know, there's no way of actually getting rid of the thing that it's sending out. But what we can do is we can transmute that energy so it feels better to the person. But
feels better and is less damaging to the biology, or?
Yeah, the biology, it helps the biology restore. And in the case of, you know, the time when we rest, which is when we're supposed to be sleeping, you know, we need zero input from the outside, because the body, that's its time to heal.
Right.
It doesn't want to be in bed fending off this mobile phone thing, or fending off the router of next door, or the radio tower. It wants to focus all its energy on doing the healing, which is what it's supposed to be doing. So anything to stop that or to transmute those signals that are coming in is you know, what we've been trying to do.
Excellent.
And it's literally a product that you should not go and travel away unless you've got one. We put it in rooms where, in hotel rooms, where they've had the Wi-Fi literally as a part of the TV console.
3 feet away from your head.
Yeah, well, yeah, at the bottom of the bed perhaps, or it could be the head. And we could plug it in, and within maybe 15 minutes, it would start to filter out the effect on us of what's coming out of there. It doesn't stop what's coming out in terms of putting a Faraday cage around it, you know.
And so it's still perceivable with an instrument. It's still perceivable with an instrument, but the effect on the body is completely and utterly different. And you're highly sensitive to this sort of thing, so you're able to really...
Well, that's how we design the stuff, you know. I'm the first guinea pig, and my wife's the second guinea pig.
Yeah, we call Victor the canary in the coal mine. So, moving on.